Speaking of ruining our streak, Jeff, are you ready to go?
I am ready to go. Are we all ready to go?
Sure.
See.
As my wife runs out of the room.
Gracias.
Very loud. It's a lot lower tech.
Hold it back further. You'll be all right.
I have a volume button. It's a lot lower tech than your show, John. Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemma Champ or Lucky Track Dog League you run. SCCR and NASA, we won't discriminate just as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing. And whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Thanks for coming back and listening to a Gullwing episode of our podcast. It's episode 198. The W198 was the chassis code for the Mercedes 300 SL, which was certainly one of the first supercars in the world. We could go back a little further and find some other ones, but damn if it still isn't just achingly pretty to this day. It was initially a Gullwing coupe from 54 to 57, then a roadster from 57 to 63, top speed of 163, making it the fastest production car of the time. At the 1956 running of the 12 hours of Sebring, there were over 300 counted in the parking area. That's pretty cool. Imagine
That's amazing that 300 SLs were in the same parking lot ever.
When they were brand new.
Yeah. That wasn't like outside the Mercedes factory.
Right. Stuttgart. Great. Well, hey, if you're not driving a car, your 300 SL, please don't use your bingo card if you're driving your 300 SL, please. No, don't do that.
But take a picture of it and send it to us.
Yeah. What are you working on to Jeff? Because Jeff's been a busy boy lately. What?
It's been busy. Yes. Work has begun on the crashed LS swapped 300Z. We have a guest tonight, so I will say it is a Z32 1991. Chris, 92? What year is it? 92. 1992 300ZX slick top 2+0 that we ripped that freaking Nissan mill out and put it in LS. And then
after rebuilding it like twice.
Yeah. 2 years building a race car. And then on practice day, a driver with the same last name as me slid it into a guardrail. So that same driver was over my house and we were working really hard. We took us half a day to get it out of the trailer and parked in a place where the township won't notice. The second half of the day, we pretty much have the engine prepped to pull. We need to pull the motor so that we can get it to the slightly irreputable body shop to get them to yank the frame straight. So as everyone is asking what's going to happen to it, we are going to try and resurrect it because that cage was entirely too hard to build. I am not swapping chassis. We're going to try and get that thing back together. Go ahead, Chris.
I said, Yup. That's good.
Yeah.
I agree. I concur, sir.
Yeah. Gee, I wonder where we can find another roached out Z. I'm also contributing to the Carvana effect. We had the discussion about the Carvana effect a couple weeks ago. And hopefully saving the manuals, as today I completed the paperwork for the purchase of my 2020 Hyundai Veloster, and I'm very excited. As Chris as every single person on this podcast is in love with German cars, I'm the only idiot who just won't do it. So,
well, it's not that you don't love German cars, but
true.
we have long established there are requirements that go with German car ownership, and you don't do
those.
If maintenance is one of them, I'm not doing it. So there it is.
Non-reactionary maintenance.
Yeah, exactly. So it is performance blue. So I forgot to put on my Golf themed watch band tonight, but I will start rocking more Golf themed livery things as I slowly fall in love with that. But anyway, lastly, one car per week is not enough. So I have negotiated the sale of an NC Miata to my brother. and hopefully tomorrow we will be picking it up in Western Pennsylvania.
Cool.
I saw that on the Slack channel. I also posted a link up there to the GRM. Somebody was giving away a bunch of NA Miata stuff in Eastern Pennsylvania.
It doesn't matter. Hopefully in a week or two, I won't own an NA.
Well, you don't really own it now, do you?
That's true. Yeah.
Well, wait. What happens? What's happening to the Miracle Miata?
There is no reason to have a rusty, effed up Miata that barely runs when you have a new Miata to play with. So Miracle the Miata will go away.
I thought your dad was just going to drive it until it dies.
No, he doesn't drive it now because as we established, we went too far down the track rat, and it is no longer a comfortable driver. So
at all. No.
So Mental, what are you doing? What are you working on other than getting us really cool guests?
We got all of the final lumber to finally finish the last bit of the roof trim, and as I started to stain it, Vicky looked at it and said, "Oof, way too dark." So we're going to redo part of that. And she found a stain she likes better. So Amazon will have that here in a couple days. I picked up my 914 engine, which is not really a 914 engine. It's a Type 4 engine, which is similar, that Corey had gotten to put in the 411 that he gave to Steph Schrader, which then blew up so that Donnie could ship an engine to her, so that then Charles, her mechanic, could ship that engine to me. And it's now in my garage, unpacked, ready to go up on an engine stand. I need specific bolts to put on the engine stand. And also I bought another engine stand. So now I have two, because that one's going to be on the engine stand for a while. I got new wheels for the Toyota. They were just a bargain on Facebook Marketplace, and I had to pick them up. So I spent a week or so looking for a cheap fender roller on Facebook Marketplace, and finally just bought a new one from Eastwood for actually the same price everybody was selling them for. So yeah,
they don't really.
You want a fender roller, buy a new one, and then sell it on Facebook for what you paid for it. But yeah,
cool.
John, you don't have to be quiet. You can just go, "You're full of crap." I mean, yeah.
I'm just hanging out over here.
Just because we haven't introduced you, don't let that stop you from chiming in. He said 914 and a motor, and you stayed quiet. So I don't know what's going on.
I didn't realize. I've seen your show, and has that 914 deck lid always been behind your head?
That 914, not always, but probably for the last couple of years, about a year and a half.
I think I've watched your show on a mobile device, and it just looked like a green and black thing, in the background because it was too small. But now that I'm here, kind of looking at it on a larger screen, I all right. So you're not a German guy,
jealous
but you have
he
a
got
914
that too.
deck lid. That's crazy.
No, I dream of Porsches. My maintenance schedule is Japanese, so.
And even then, questionable Japanese.
Neglect.
Yeah, 100% neglect. So,
Chrissy, we unintentionally skipped over you.
Oh, it's fine. It's weird if Chris asks me what I'm doing. So I've
Chrissy, what you doing?
We had a lovely weekend away. Not much work. Chris will talk about the car work and the housework that he did. Headed out soon again. So summer means we should not be in the house anymore. And it's way too crazy hot here. So we're getting out. Chris, you've done more car work than I have recently. What have you been up to?
I've done some Corvette work. We are continuing the resurrection of this 1984 Corvette, and got the interior mostly back together. It's much better than it used to be, which is great. I've also now tonight been siphoning 20-year-old gas out of it. That's been really, really fun.
Ooh.
Everyone loves the smell of 20-year-old fuel. So that's good. In the process of doing that, I broke the filler neck sending unit thing because it's on there with a seal and a plate. And so I just it wasn't coming up. So I tried to lever it off. And sure enough, the part that you screw the gas cap in just snapped off. So that was really on there security. No, it's metal.
Oh.
That's how we make them.
Yep. It didn't last so well. So that's in my Rock Auto cart right now. What else have I been doing? Oh, we went to the Cape. I built a deck on the side of the house. There was a little kind of landing off the side of the kitchen, and that was falling off the house. So I proceeded to remove it by grabbing hold and pulling, and it came
this was going to be a beautiful, perfect beach day weekend, wasn't it?
No,
Oh,
which is
no.
why we built the deck.
Well,
then it
you
rained
built it in the rain.
while
like
I'm building
active
the deck.
rain. Yes.
Yep, I get kid of the year for building a deck in the rain on the side of the house. Anyway, that's done. Yeah, I think that's about it.
That's a lot of work.
Voting. Yeah. That's satisfying, though. You know, you spend a day and a half making something, and there it is. It's nice. You just do a little dance on it, and you're done.
I would argue it's better to build the deck in the rain than in the sun, because then you're like, I wish this was done so I could lay out in the sun.
Yeah, I agree with you. Great. Well, hey, you've heard his voice here. That voice belongs to John Polnik, co-host of Bidnerds, as well as the Der Faszination channel and podcast on YouTube, and the Porsche Road Trip on Pluto TV. John, what you working on?
How's it going, guys? You know, Jeff, I got to go back to that deck lid. I'm just enamored by the 914 deck lid over your shoulder. Is that Delphi green?
According to Bradley Brownell, when he was a guest, I asked him what color it was, and he said yes, Delphi green.
Yeah, he would know. All right, good. Yeah, it's hard to. Again, I'm just geeking out on those green colors, man. You get like if it were Ravenna green. Woo.
Oh, no, I had a Ravenna green. So I actually resurrected 4 deck lids out of a garage that a friend of mine was cleaning out, and a bunch of other parts, 914 parts. And I gave all the ones that had value to a friend of ours, Eric, the 914 lover, who is out there.
DJ 914.
DJ 914. And he was going to pass on all of the good ones to his friends. And he hung up the Ravenna green, which I think was an early one, because it even had like the dark gold lettering. He hung that up at his house. I was like, what? No, I wanted that one, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, but does he have a podcast? Does he have it as a backdrop in his, in a program? See, you win. There you go. +1.
And the GT3 poster here, I got that at a car show from a lady.
I can't see the GT3 poster because my this gizmo, that's where I am. The way this thing is configured, I don't know. I can't see what you guys.
It's okay. I was.
That's
joking.
all right. It's all good in the hood. Yeah, man. What am I working on? I don't have a pile of cars working on. I used to a lot more have cars that were always in disrepair. But I live in a high rise now, so I have very limited parking. So if I'm going to leave a car somewhere, I have to pay for it. I do have a very weird car right now that's been taking way too long to get done. I have a 1965 Porsche 356 B convertible. Wait for it, replica. If you know anything about the 356 Porsche replica scene, they're always 356As. 90% of them are speedsters. Occasionally you'll see a replica coupe. That's pretty rare, but that's a thing. Apparently back in the 80s, Beck and Vimo, a company out of Brazil, teamed up and they made a limited run of 356B model convertibles and coupes. They made 100 coupes and 30 convertibles. So they hardly made any of these things, but they were actually endorsed by Porsche. Porsche dealerships in Germany were able to sell them on the lot. Like Porsche said, it's okay for them to sell them there. And Vimo is a company out of Brazil that was making military vehicles. It's like, and Vimo is some kind of acronym. I can't remember what it stands for, but they were making amphibious vehicles and all kinds of crazy desert tanks and stuff like that for both Iraq and Iran. And they were selling to both sides so they could blow each other's cars up.
That's a brilliant market to corner right there.
So they made a bunch of money. They had so much money. They're like, let's make some fake Porsches too. And so that's what they did. And I discovered this car in a garage. This car kind of found me. It was the woman who I bought it from. She bought it not brand new. I think she bought it from the first owner back in 1986. She was 16 years old. It was her first car, and she drove it for years. She drove it till 2001 when she parked it in the garage, and she got pregnant. And her new husband, they decided to remodel the house. and the car was literally buried under remodeling stuff. Her husband was not a car guy at all. He could care less. When they bought a new house just a few months ago, they wanted to rent out their old house, so they had to clean it out. And as they were cleaning out the garage, they remembered they uncovered. Oh yeah, that's right. We have a Porsche in there.
We had a car.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously it's not a real Porsche, but even the replicas are worth quite a bit of money, and especially odd ones like this. So it was kind of a weird thing for me to buy. It was pretty, so let's call it a patina car. And one of the things, it had the windshield was smashed.
If you've got a picture on your computer, I don't know what your configuration, we could do the share screen thing. But sorry, I don't mean to kill you.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if I have one handy. Actually, I haven't.
We fully expect Jeff to actually, if he ever cleans out his garage, to find a car or two.
It might be possible, right? Yeah. So that's what I'm working on. Trying to get the windshield in it, because we were lucky enough to find glass, but apparently the seal around the glass doesn't work with the original one. So we're just like, I don't know how the hell we're going to get this windshield in the car. Maybe one of you guys can help me out.
Yeah, well, I know everyone on your podcast calls you JP. Should we? And that's what you put on the little screen there.
Either one is fine. Yeah,
all right.
Well,
I was going to say, JP, don't hold your tongue. We expect you to feel free to chime in on any of the stories that you care about as we enter the next segment of the show.
All right.
News and notes.
On the subject of celebrations, 118 years ago, George Wyman, not the one that designed the building in LA, but a completely different one, completed the first motorized transcontinental crossing. He did it on a motorcycle. 51 days it took him to cover the 3,800 miles from San Francisco on a 1902 California. It was a bicycle frame that he had put a 4-stroke motor onto. It literally broke down 150 miles out, and he had to pedal it the remaining distance, still finishing 20 days ahead of Dr. Horatio Nelson Jackson, who was the first person to cross the continent by automobile. And a link to that story in Haggerty is in our show notes.
I don't know if that counts as crossing in a motor vehicle. If you pedaled,
he was still on the motor vehicle. Yeah, he was still on the motor vehicle.
If you pedaled 3,650 miles of the 3,800 miles, you rode a bike.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Caleb Jacob over at The Drive let us know that General Motors is out of the CD business in passenger vehicles. CDs, if you don't know, that they are an old storage device where I added this, old people used to listen to music on, because anybody that knows and listens to CDs are old. Obviously, digital music was killed that industry, because Best Buy quit selling them altogether in 2018. GM only had a CD player available in the Chevy Express and GMC Savannah vans as of 2022. That will not be an option. CD players pulled from the Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, Escalade, and that's all for that medium.
I'm looking in my desk for my CDs.
You probably have some.
I do.
Yes, they're very.
They still have Redbox in grocery stores. How is that possible?
How do people play them? I've seen people get things from them. I completely agree.
They keep them outside of the 7-Eleven. You go in there, you get a 6-pack or microwave burrito and a red box. That's $20 worth of entertainment. You're good to go.
I mean, how many movies? How many times can you watch Night at the Roxbury? I mean, it's like, what is in the box? I don't.
Or like Titanic, or
right?
like old.
If you're
movies.
so old that you have to rent a DVD, are you even familiar with any of the new films? Do you even want to watch any of those? Do they have? You're not gonna. I mean, I don't get it. I don't know. I guess you could play it in your Tahoe with the flip down DVD screen for the kids.
I have a flip down DVD screen in my Nissan Titan. So.
I think we have SpongeBob's Christmas stuck in ours, actually.
And I think you still have that the B movie in Snowflake that I left in there.
Chris may have rescued that one.
Yeah, no, he rescued all the CDs out of that, but it was I just heard the tagline "Stunt Rock." That's what it is, Stunt Rock. It's a death wish at 120 decibels.
Oh my!
Because my parents didn't want to watch that.
Yeah. Hey, this is hot off the presses. Just announced this afternoon via email. American Endurance Racing is adding a new class with metrics. According to the email, most of the teams that race with AER have expressed support for our performance-based classing, and for the majority of teams, we will continue to class your cars as we always have, which for those of you who have never been to an AER race, you basically qualify into a, class 1, 2, 3, or 4 based on how fast you do laps. But according to John, at the same time, we're striving to create a fixed target for those teams who want to build or already have built a car to a specific power to weight ratio, which, as we know, is the method that is used by World Racing League. So I don't know if they're trying to get in on their muscle, but starting in the 2022 season, they create a class called Class A. It will require a power to weight ratio of 9.0 to 10.5 pounds per horsepower. There will also be aero, brake, suspension modifiers, and fuel cell specifications. Interesting. They invited people to join a discussion group so they can work out all the rules. And then at the end of the email, they said, at the same time, we will no longer be accepting any cars with a power to weight ratio less than 9 pounds per horsepower. That's 333 horsepower in a 3,000 pound car, 266 in a 2,400 power car. So that would eliminate basically the Miatas, most of the 4-cylinder BMWs, probably E30s, right, Chris?
No, it's the other way around. They're not accepting cars that are faster than that.
Oh, faster than that. Oh,
yeah,
so the Ferrari
like
Challenge
the Ferrari
cars,
Challenge cars and the
those
Corvettes
things.
and
those things. Yeah.
the C5R and the
This seems to be the way they're limiting speed creep of the really fast cars that would blow the Miata's doors off. Is that
and
like,
and
so,
the Nana makers were bringing the damn Caymans, their IMSA Caymans out and stuff. So yeah.
Well,
So,
then
yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree with his discussion.
You're all like upset about.
I know. I was pissed. I was like, "What?
They're
getting
rid of
faster?"
the Miatas!
yeah, but just as perspective, that's about where the Z is, pretty much. Like not quite there, but getting close. And the Civics was there, so yeah.
Knows.
Yep, pretty much.
Alrighty. Recent results.
Or upcoming races.
Oh, upcoming
Because
races. Upcoming
yep.
races.
We're celebrating the Freedom Hangover, and no one was racing last weekend. But next week, we're going to have pre-race coverage from AER, Lucky Dog, Champ Car, and WRL. Busy weekend.
Ooh, it's gonna be a lot.
Sorry.
All right. Recent results. We don't have any. Here's hoping that you all had a safe and a happy holiday weekend. On the upside, less than a dozen Philadelphia residents chased a group of around 200 fascists who had been driven down a downtown Philly in a group of rider trucks. But a small group of locals almost immediately chased them out of town. Video is actually funny and sad. But Jeff said on the Apex Adjacent podcast, do not invoke or provoke gritty. Yes. If you can't order a Wawa hoagie, you don't know what WizWit is, you do not know the Pandora's box you're opening.
Yeah, it was actually pretty funny. It was a group that was from the Virginia.
No, they're Texas. I thought it was Texas.
No, they were from Texas, but they were born out of the Unite the Right rally in Virginia. So they had on like khakis and blue shirts and white masks, and people were like, "Get the fuck out of Philly now!"
It wasn't even like it literally was like 10 guys.
Yeah, it was great.
It was awesome.
Hey,
Hey,
Philly's
I'm sorry.
the place for that.
This is Philly.
Yeah, we throw batteries at Santa, and there's that like,
It happened once.
and there was that like that robot that was just kind of traveling its way around the country.
yeah.
People would start-
Picture bot. Yeah.
it got the shit kicked out of it in Philly.
and then the riot when you won the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Listener feedback time.
On our cage building part 2, we have to thank Cam Lopez. We have actually got a whole bunch of plans. I don't know if you guys have checked our email. We got a lollipop pool. So if you have a pool pole, you can now make a lollipop for your pit. You can hold it out so your guys are coming in. They know where they're going to stop. We've got center marker tools for marking your tubing. We've got a bend tool for a bender with a 6-inch bend radius and a top and bottom clamp for a 1.75-inch tube, which it allows you to put that the dial on it to make sure that as you are bending different directions, you're still keeping it level or putting an angle at whatever you need.
He sent so many cool
rotating it
pictures. He posted them to
Wow.
our
Cam's
Facebook.
legit. You get a chance. He's one of the Battle Scarred racing guys, and really, really, really smart and really fun to talk to.
Hamza, if you're listening, we will send you the files. Yeah, Jim, get them cut.
Jim, yeah.
Yep.
Michael K also talked to us about some constructor tips on building these cages. He said, Jeff, you're mistaken. Me, I'm mistaken. The only reason you use a plinth box is when you have a plinth box is when you have an irregular floor. He says that's one of the 3 good methods for allowing you to weld the top of your hoop halo without cutting holes in your roof. And they've used on every single cage. They weld the sprotter plate, goes under the plinth box, and then they build the box. They weld it. They slide the plinth box out of place, drop the hoop down, weld the top, put it back up, jam the plinth box in. And we cut a hole in the floor and it does the same exact thing and is a lot easier. So I'm sticking to my method.
There's nothing wrong with plinth boxes.
No, it's actually a good method. We just like ours better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Daniel Torres asked, hey, what are your preferred tools to bend your pipe and pipe size? We have a JD Squared Model 3 bender. I think it's what it is. It's very old, but it still works.
I think it's a Model 3, but if you call them and ask for a Model 3, they have replaced a lot of the parts. So there's like a different version of the Model 3.
It's an older version.
Older version.
2 3/4.
They say, does it have the end of the stick looks this little square? And I was like, you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah. We haven't seen one of those in years. Pipe size we usually use is 1 3/4 because either we're building heavy cars and we need the thick wall stuff, or even if we're building the smaller, lighter cars, the 1 3/4 095 wall is lighter weight than the 1.5 120 wall. So might as well. We'll just use that stuff.
There you go.
Okay.
Yep.
Carlton Schmidt had an artsy solution to the smaller bits of leftover tubing. My scrap metal and offcuts get tacked onto Kid Curry. Curry lives on a high shelf in the corner of my shop. He's growing. That's a fun idea.
I'm imagining just a stack of random tubes that
you
looks like
stick
an
them
alien.
to the side, and that's how
we need a picture of that. Carlton, send us a picture.
Every muffler shop back in the 70s always had the muffler man, out front. Tyler Stanks giving us a bit of a hard time mentioning his Gingerman race experience as we did, quote, leave out the best part, our theme. The Fisher-Price chatter phone looked great, and the dampened return on the dial, which took up the entire hood, worked perfectly. I suspect there will be video of it at the Gingerman wrap-up when that comes out. I guarantee it. Yeah.
Excellent. And Randy B had some more to point out about Gingerman. He said it turned out to be Lemon's iRacing domination. Stank got a trophy, the Hessers got a trophy, and Randy actually tried the whole racing thing, and it didn't suck at all. He says Gingerman always has iffy weather, but the people in the party make it some of the best weekends of the year. And speaking
now,
of
Jeff is throwing a story in there because he doesn't.
No, I didn't throw that story in there. I don't know where it came from.
That would be me.
Oh, excellent. Great. There you go. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
John, go for it.
Go for it, John.
Well, can you? I don't know if you guys can bring up that link, but you guys are vet guys. You guys are Midwesterners and everything like that. There's a story here that I just saw on Jalopnik where a C8 crashes into a pool. Now this is kind of a sad story. 2 people died in this accident as they crashed into someone's pool. But the takeaway from this is 3 people were in the C8.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
How?
A C8 carrying 3 people crashes into someone's backyard, goes into the pool. 2 people die. But wait a minute, there was 3 people in the car. How does that work exactly?
I bet we can guess.
You Corvette guys.
Well,
how does that work?
Not Corvette guys. Just happened to have been given a Corvette.
Me too. So, let's not forget.
Yeah. Neither of us.
I mean, honestly,
those
what's
cars.
the difference here? I mean, it's like, how else do you?
Oh, you got it. I got it.
One being given to you.
That's true.
Pictures are deciding not to come up on mine.
Oh, mine came up. I can share screen. Here it comes.
What was your second option? It was 2:18 in the morning, so I'm sure they weren't sober.
Oh, okay, there it is. Yep.
And I know that we have all owned 2-seat cars, and I definitely have had more than one passenger at the time, especially in my younger days. If they were
of the feminine wild. Go ahead. You can say it. I know you're married.
Svelte. If they were svelte.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would take some doing in one of those, because I mean the cockpit is just not very big, and it's got that big center console. I don't know. I thought one of you guys might have some insight on that.
Enough motivation.
Share, but yeah, that's true. Yeah, or,
I've ridden in the hatch.
2 in the
in high
morning.
school.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
an
yeah.
old vet, I could see that actually happening,
Yeah.
because I
Oh,
grew
yeah.
up.
A C4.
Yeah. When I was a kid, the neighbor girl, the hot chick, the high school girl, her dad gave her a C4, and that's where I rode. I got to ride in the back, but at least I was in the vet, right? But the mid-engine Corvette thing, how does that work? I don't.
I see you guys got lucked out. with
Someone's
your-
on someone's lap. The question is whether or not they were on the driver's lap or the passenger's lap.
Yes.
And if
Right
they were
across
on,
both.
if they were on the lap, were they a cushion in this? Did they save the other person, or is,
Yeah, that's a
Oh,
good. Yeah, did they
no.
become
Who
the
died?
airbag?
The people in the seat or the
right.
people not in the seat?
yeah?
Yeah. Or
They-
is
oh,
this the
they-
latest? Is this the latest version of planking? Is this like, because I'm old, I don't know what the internet kids do, and they always have some kind of thing. So is it like now go out and get a bad American car and die in it? I don't know. I don't know where that was going.
I
They
don't
were
know.
they were all ejected. So even if there was one of the cushions,
Mm.
they just
So they weren't belted in, and clearly the roof was off. So yeah.
Still
Oh.
better than drinking Tide Pods or eating Tide
Yes.
Pods or whatever it is that you do with Tide Pods. I think this is definitely a better trend. But I'm just saying, I don't know. Again, I don't know what you people do in the Midwest. Somebody's gonna have to explain.
They're
this
not
to me.
Midwest.
We're
No,
from
we're
Philly.
Jersey and
They're
Pennsylvania.
they're
so
all from
Philly.
where your wife is from. They're all
Oh, okay. Well, I was born in New Jersey, so there you go.
Sorry,
I don't know if that's right.
They're all
Sorry.
Eastern PA area folks. So yeah.
all Philly now at least.
All right.
It
So,
is.
JP, do you do any fake racing? You do any anything on the simulators?
No, I'm not much of an actual race car racer person. I love being on the track. I'll do DE days and stuff like that. But I love the idea of going out and doing this Lemons thing. That just looks like so much fun.
Oh, well, we will take care of that for you. So when the Rona hit, we all jumped on our computers and started practicing on the internet. And we had the season ender of the Lemons race. Who's going to cover it?
So race 1, no pedal, no wheel. So one of the things they came up with is you can't use an actual pedal and wheel controller. And we've had all kinds of interesting stuff. A pickle. One guy tried at least 4 times to get his dog going. Keyboards, a lot of flight controls. And then Tyler Stank also had his going by playing different tones on his French horn.
And there was the bongo. They used
the
to. Somebody
bongos,
used
I
to
forgot
play
about
the Kong bongo.
Yes. And then
Yeah.
we had the Mr. Beans, a lot of Mr. Bean versions, and a butter churn. So that was but this one was actually fairly regular. It was at Summit Point. That was always a good one. And then 2, they took it was supposed to be all the rally cars for the Jacques Villeneuve 20-minute race. Everyone went with Beetles. So it was all Beetles. Also, damage turned on. Hilarious. The last one, Banger Cross. Now I had to leave, but Jeff, you were watching the Banger Cross with the dirt track Camaros on that rallycross course at Phoenix.
Yeah, that was fun. A lot of crashing, a lot of flipping around on that one.
And
then-
for the first 2 races, we randomly picked a number, and All Smith won both of them.
Yeah, yes. So in the last race, they actually had all of the MX-5 Miatas on the iRacing Super Speedway in the dark, which has no lights. So that was fantastic. It was a very, very. I'm sure the YouTube audience loved watching a black screen and little lights go around. But
So that
I
means
don't
the
know.
commentary had to be good.
It left plenty of room for dick and fart jokes. I will freely admit.
All right. As we said that we do pedal, no pedal, or we do pedal and wheel racing. We host a Monday night E1R race with anybody who listens here and wants to show up. This week, we do it on Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern and 10 p.m. Eastern. We turned the damage off and took Formula V's onto Phoenix Rallycross for all the laughs. And then over to Daytona for all American cars, vets, caddies, NASCARs at legendary Legacy Daytona. The Aliens won both, but everybody had a blast, and Lemons iRacing might be on hiatus, but we race every Monday night.
If you got a dumb idea for a race, get a hold of us on our
Basically,
social medias.
Monday afternoon, we all say, what are we doing tonight? So join in.
Facts. Yeah.
If you got something you want to do.
Hey, you know who never outbids me for a 911 on all of the major car sites?
Not 911.
I think you're wrong. I think she outbid you on every 911.
Not
Chrissy's
911s.
No, okay,
But-
what would she bid on?
Coffee pots.
Oh, coffee pots.
You
Okay.
guys, coffee
All right.
pots on eBay.
We're going to
She's
talk about
very good
bidding.
at it.
So if you have coffee pots, hi to Chrissy's mom. I hope you're getting fantastic coffee pots. She is the very first listener, JP. So that's why we always say hi to her.
And also, if you when you come to one of these lemons races, we'll make sure that you get access to the. They are. It's not a joke anymore. They are actually used as currency. Chrissy's mom makes cookies sometimes for the entire staff and paddock, and they are so good. And strangers come by and say, may I please have one of Chrissy's mom's cookies?"
Yeah.
All right,
Depends on how
let's
much
get
you like
They
on
sound good.
to the main topic. The main topic time we already mentioned. It's John Polnik. Porsche road trip, car gatherings, Bidnerds. He's got a YouTube channel, a TV show. He's got everything.
He's a
And
filmmaker, and he's dying a little bit inside being on this podcast.
I was going to
watching
say
us.
his podcast looks way better than ours because we started as audio only, and I'll figure out how he does all those things. He's even got a better picture of a Porsche behind him than I do. So, John, welcome to the
Thanks,
Everyone
guys.
Racers podcast.
You have an actual Porsche part back there. That's just a picture of one.
Sure.
Yeah, no, thanks for the intro. No, you guys have more followers or probably nobody listens to us because we don't know what we're talking about. We do a podcast pretty much every weekday, Monday through Friday, sometimes Monday through Thursday, depending. But think of it as Price is Right with cars. We whittle down the most interesting cars of the day on Bring a Trailer, P-Car Market, Rad for Sale, Cars and Bids, whatever auto enthusiast auction sites happen to be up at the time. We whittle it down to the most interesting ones, and then we make predictions of what we think they will sell for. And we're always wrong. I mean, we just clearly don't know what we're doing. We've been doing it for months now, and we haven't gotten any better. And it's not getting any easier because prices are just crazy out there. In the
Prices
market.
are insane.
Yeah, if you've been paying any attention, you know that it's not settling down. It just gets more and more bonkers every single day. And but the game is a lot of fun. A lot of time, it's just my partner and I, Michael Deeb, and we bring on guests fairly regularly. The lovely and talented Chrissy will be coming on, I believe, tomorrow. So there's a plug.
Oh,
We've got one of the Everyone Racers coming on tomorrow.
And honestly,
I think-
you grabbed the smartest one.
Well, I mean,
not smart, just a follower. So I don't know that I'll do any better though. So
I'm sure you'll wipe the floor with us. Most of our guests do. And one thing about all the guests that we've ever had is they just blow up my phone afterwards because the game is very addictive. The way it works is
without
we'll
a
pick a
doubt.
car. Deeb will talk about it. Then I'll give some useless information about it. Then he'll give his bid and I'll guess over under. And it's terribly.
You
She's
definitely-
been doing this she's been doing it for years.
I don't play with anybody though. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, look how much this car sold for. And I'm like, oh, every day I show Chris the car just about every day and say, can I have this one?
Right. Well,
Is
have
more
you, Chrissy,
cars.
or have any of you guys been watching Bring a Trailer as far back as before they were doing auctions? Do you
Oh,
guys remember?
absolutely. When it was just an
Absolutely.
email. Yeah.
Or we've sold 2 cars on there too, including way back before it was auctions when it was just barely a classified site that they were taking their own ads. We sold our 69 Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow race car on
Wow.
Back when you actually had to bring a trailer because half of it didn't run.
Not, yeah.
Half
Yeah.
the stuff on that, which is right up my alley. Ooh,
Yeah.
garbage car, yeah.
Well, that was the thing about Bring a Trailers. It started off as kind of, even when they started with the auctions, it used to be the place to get a deal on an obscure car that you were looking for. And that has completely changed. Now it is the place where you find the car that you want and you're just going to pay for it. If there's something that you want, if there's that obscure thing or that, you're going to find it on Bring a Trailer or maybe one of the other auction sites. But Bring a Trailer in particular is the juggernaut. And you are not getting a deal on that platform. They have all the eyeballs. Everyone who's looking for a car is on there regularly, and we were constantly watching it. Just about so many. If you're a car guy, just about every car guy I know like you, Chrissy, hey, did you see this one? How many times have you seen someone post something on a social site? And that's where the idea came from. It's like, well, geez, coming up with podcast ideas, and how many different automotive podcasts are there nowadays? And you watch every one of them, and everyone's kind of struggling to come up with things to talk about and content. And this is just one of those concepts that was like, well, you know what? We never have to come up with something to talk about. There's always hundreds of cars that are going to close an auction on any given day. Even if we didn't select, we take a lot of time selecting the cars that we think are the most interesting cars, but really we could just, you could throw you throw a dart at one. Okay, what's this car going to do? Exactly. So it just makes it easy for us to just turn the computer on. Here's 5 cars, make some predictions. We have a bunch of useless information about just about every car that we talk about because we're full of that just worthless stuff. And hey, here's something we can actually do with that useless information finally.
Well, and actually that's what I'm going to bring up next, is because we're going to talk about the show in just a minute, but we're going to do a little bit more into your background here. I watched the show. I've been watching 3 or 4 episodes a day trying to catch up so I can start watching them live, because
that's why our views have doubled. One
guy going back and watching the old ones.
All right.
I did watch Jay Lamb live, and
nice.
The amazing things that you all know specifically about Porsches, but just about everything else. Like, how did you get this knowledge? What's your background? I know you mentioned once that you were a lot lizard in your teenage years and worked for some, including a Peugeot. You worked at a place that sold Peugeots.
Yeah, brand new Peugeots.
Right up our alley. So what's your background with cars? How did you get all this fascination with 911s, and where did you get all this great knowledge?
Well, thank you. I don't know if it's great, but people ask me all the time, being a car enthusiast, I just tell them, look, don't do it. Just take up heroin or crack. In the long run, it's going to be way cheaper. If you get into Porsches young, it's just going to be ruinous for you financially. And it's going to ruin relationships. It's just everything about your life is going to be destroyed if you get into this thing. But once you do, I don't know. I'm a dork, and I remember, I literally have a memory, probably 5 years old or something. I grew up and the neighbor kid's mom had a Mexico blue 914. I didn't know what a 914 was. I didn't know what Mexico blue was. I have no idea what engine it had in it, but I just remember looking at that car being this little kid, and I went and talked to my friend and like, wow, what is that? And he said, that's a Porsche and it goes 100 miles an hour. And I was like, no way, nothing can go that fast. You're out of your mind. And then, I don't know, I do some math, but 15 years later, I got my first Porsche and it was a 914. And I obviously growing up as a kid, everybody, if you wind up being in Porsches, you wind up seeing them on a TV show or a movie. I didn't grow up in an area where they were very common. A 914 was about the only thing you saw. I was in a very rural place. But the brand, the mark, that it's fancy. You got a Porsche. And the first Porsche I bought because it said Porsche on it. It was super cheap. It was a 73 914. It was at this stupid little pot lot on a bad part of town, in this just grimy little car dealership. And I saw it and I was like, wow, the top comes off of that. It says Porsche. I'm in. And I paid the guy, and that car, it was such, had rust in the hellhole, had all the typical 914 problems, but the roof came off and it said Porsche. And I just wanted to pick up girls, and it worked. But then after driving it for a while and going, oh, wait, I think I understand why people like these so much. And that was the worst one. So the other ones have to be way better.
Eric, relax. He didn't mean it. 914s are okay, Eric.
I had 2 924s.
Yeah,
not even 914's not even close to the worst one.
Sure. Well, any of the early 924s, for sure. I absolutely agree. And the 914s, I don't actually believe that they're the worst one, but the one I had was the worst one.
I understand.
It was not a good example. But that, so I figured I had to go up from there.
And were you graduating from the Scirocco?
Yes, as a matter of fact. I don't know if that's something you just guessed or if you're a watcher of the show.
I'm a watcher of the show and wanted to mention it because Chrissy is still scarred from her Volkswagen experiences. So.
Well,
yeah,
but I
tough,
actually,
but
he mentioned that on the Porsche road trip, which everyone should watch on Pluto. And it was one of his road trip rambling bits. And immediately, I own two Scirocco's. I had a Mark I and a Mark II. I still, if I could find a clean second generation Scirocco, it's a beautiful car.
Yeah. Good luck finding one. You're right.
I think there might have been one on Bring a Trailer last week.
We've seen a handful of them, but we haven't seen a genuinely clean one in ever.
No, you don't
see any of them ever.
Camisa's garage is the only place that there's a clean second gen Scirocco these days.
Yeah. The Scirocco, I'm a huge fan of the second gen. That's always what I was. My first Scirocco in high school, I saved up a bunch of money, and then I got it like just before I graduated high school, and then we were moving out of the house that I grew up in, and on my way to go to the apartment that I was moving into, long story, but I crashed it. Totally gone. I didn't have the car for more than 2 weeks. This person was delivering newspapers. I lived in a rural area. So it's 3 a.m. I have all my stuff. Everything that I own is this, 17-year-old kid. And I'm in this car and I'm super excited. This thing may as well have been a Lamborghini to me because I was so excited about that car. And as I came over the crest of the hill, there was a car in my lane. Because the car was basically delivering newspapers on the opposite side of the road, so they could do it out of the driver's
like a postal
side
deal,
yeah, but it wasn't a postal, So it was like I swerved, I lost control and totaled the thing. And then the next Scirocco I got, it was dumb luck. There was a kid in high school. Ted Rieger, if you're out there, I've told the story before, and he hasn't found me and beaten me up. But Ted, I coveted his car. His was a black 82. That's the first year of the second gen Scirocco. It was lowered. Yeah, I mean, just it had Ronald R9 wheels, all black, with the houndstooth cloth interior. Had a Drake 426 cam, and it had a strut tower. I mean, this car was like. It had the Zender front splitter. Didn't have the full body kit, but this car was so badass. I wanted that car in high school so badly. I wrecked my Scirocco. I had my summer job before I started school in the fall, and I was just like hating life because I was in this piece of crap Dodge Colt with a bashed in driver's side. You had to get in on the passenger side. And I drove by the Kmart parking lot, and there was Ted Rieger's car. I'm like, with a for sale sign. I'm like, what? So I had to stop and look at it, and they wanted all the money at the time. I was like, I don't have what I was washing Peugeots, like you guys caught on my story. So I reached out to the lady, or I called the number expecting to get Ted Rieger, and I got this lady, and she's like, yeah, I'll come and meet you. And she came out, and it was Ted Rieger's mom. And I'm like, well, isn't this Ted's car? She's like, oh, my son? I'm like, yeah. He was a dick, but I didn't say that.
He's a lovely young man. Yeah.
Yeah. So. I'm like, why is he selling his car? And she's like, well, he's not selling his car. I'm selling his car. He's, he wasn't quite in juvie, but he got caught stealing Ninjas and Hurricanes. Him and his buddy were stealing crotch rockets, throwing them in the back of the truck and taking them for joyride. And so, yeah, he was in big trouble. Mom's like, yeah, no, I guess that's why we didn't see you at graduation, Ted Rieger. Anyways, so I had hardly any money, but it was all the money I had. I said, hey, I've got $1,700, and they were asking like $7,000 for Ted Rieger's car. And she's like, okay. I'm like,
whoa,
what?
Woman scorned.
It was like winning the lottery for me. So I bought that car. And yes, I love Scirocco's.
Well, and clearly though, she was encouraging, people should have jobs and responsibility and respect other.
I was a good kid. I told her my story about, saving up for, 2 years for the other one and wrecking it. And she just, and I was like, I actually graduated, and yeah, there it was. So.
Chrissy, you got to follow up on this one?
Yeah. What draws you to Porsche? Well, we talked about what draws you to Porsches a little bit.
I mean, sure. I mean, once you get into a Porsche, if you've ever driven one, right? It's like you don't know until you've driven them. The thing I get asked to speak a lot of times at events or like PCA events and stuff like that. And there's nothing worse than a PCA event. You've got, droves of pleated pants dudes that are
unless it's
like
a Corvette
geriatric.
meet.
That's probably rivals it. So you're in front of a couple hundred people at some event, and I always tell everyone whenever I get a chance to speak in front of those people, I'm always like, look, if there's a young person in your life, if there's a young person that shows interest in the car, and they ask to take a picture of it or they want to sit in it or something like that, of course, say yes, but take it another step further. If they have a driver's license, let them drive the car. Let them drive the car. Stop being so damn precious.
Not my flab chow. No,
right. And at that point, you got to get the defibrillator out because 30% of the room just falls flat on their face dead. But the rest of the room is like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we need to because look, the Porsches, everything's going electric. Everything's going autonomous. If we want to keep this going, you better get another generation that's into it. And luckily, Porsche does enjoy a youth culture surrounding the brand, unlike a lot of other cars. And I think it's because, unlike higher end, aspirational brands like Ferrari or Lambo, there are no entry level Lambos. There's no getting into a Ferrari cheap. Whereas Porsches, there are still opportunities. 914s, you can still get one inexpensively. There are 924s, there are 944s, transactional cars. There's opportunities for young people to get
even Boxsters and Caymans are
perfect. Yeah,
eminently affordable, and almost tempted me into German car ownership, but it didn't happen.
Well, yeah, and the barrier to entry isn't always the price of the car; it's the maintenance and taking care of the car. And you're right. I mean, there's no way around it. They are not the least expensive things to own. But if you do treat them well, if you find the one that's been treated well, it's not as bad as people think. And if you get someone that knows what they're doing and knows their way around these cars, there's bargains to be had, and they are. Ultimately, most of them are pretty reliable. You can get a lot of car for not a lot of money, and that, like, you could actually daily drive something like a 944. That is a car that is robust. It has two little Achilles heels, the timing belt and the water pumps. It's a little expensive to replace and update, call it $1,000 or something like that, which could be all the money in the world for a teenager. But
you could learn to do it yourself because there's still 944s in the junkyard.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's a car that has air conditioning if you live in a hot climate, and it's a car that's relatively safe. There's still opportunities for young people to get into Porsches, own them, and enjoy them, and carry them into the next generation. Because once you get one, you'll want another one. They're like those potato chips; you can't have just one, right?
I was thinking as you were saying this to let them drive it, but there are not many youngins these days that can drive a stick. So
yeah,
that's the additional problem. You're like, oh, here, you can drive my car and let me teach you how to drive stick on it. No problem.
What better car to learn to drive a stick in than a Porsche?
Yes.
My friend Mauricio from the Three Pedal Posse, he's one of the guys that a great guy up in the Pacific Northwest where I'm actually from. He runs a great little organization called the Three Pedal Posse. Look him up on all the InstaWebs and stuff. He has a stepdaughter. She's 13, or no, what am I saying? She's 15 and a half or whatever. She got her driver's permit, and he is teaching her to drive in a 964. He's doing God's work. This is not only do young people need to drive Porsches, but they need to learn how to use that third pedal. And you're not going to hurt it. I'm not advocating giving the keys to your Porsche to a teenager and saying, hey, have fun, go down to Taco Bell, we'll see you later. That ain't happening. But being in the car with them, most teenagers are going to be so excited to be behind the wheel of a Porsche. They're going to be super respectful. And that is going to be an experience and a moment that they're going to remember for the rest of their life. Even if they don't wind up enjoying even if they don't become a car enthusiast, which, let's face it, the likelihood of them becoming an enthusiast at that point is pretty high. But even if they don't, it's still going to be something that they're going to remember forever. And how cool is that to give a young person an experience like that? Let them drive your Porsches, people. If you have a Porsche,
especially if they already know how to drive stick, you're just
yeah.
Woo, you put in some work.
Yeah. Here's your reward. You learned to drive a Honda Civic with a manual. Well, here, go drive fill in the blank Porsche. You're going to have a good time.
All right.
And they're going to tell their friends. Yeah.
Flipping topics to Bidnerds, which is awesome.
Thank you.
But the market's insane, as we started to talk about a little bit before. But is the emphasis on auction sites and the huge number of bidding platforms good for lowly car nuts as a whole, or is it just going to drive us all out of the market and we're all not going to be able to sell our cars
No,
anymore?
I think it's great for auto enthusiasts. The fact that these enthusiasts look. eBay has been selling cars since the beginning of eBay, right? That's, before dinosaurs and stuff. It's not like selling cars on an auction site is unique. BAT came up with a little bit different way to do it. For those of you who don't know, Bring a Trailer, I mean, who doesn't? But there is a significant difference in the user interface and how you interact with the auctions. On eBay, you have that sniping thing that everyone talks about. Everyone waits to the last second and tries to get their high bid in at the last moment.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just so annoying. Who wants to deal with that? With BAT, what they did is they kind of their game changer. They said, all right, high bid adds 2 minutes. And that way, some of these auctions, we've literally seen them go for hours, literally hours, adding 2 minutes at a time. And I think, right. And it's insanely entertaining to watch when you see one of these races happen. So what
is
that
it going to stop now?
Right.
Are we going? Stop now?
What's going on?
Oh, it's going on! It's going on again!
You would think if you were watching someone watch one of these auctions that they're watching a hockey game or a sports event and somebody just scored. You're like, oh my God, it made it. And so the battles that happen, it's terrible. It's dramatic, right? And then you add that, you add to that mix, you add comments. You build these communities. Yeah. So people come in there with their knowledge and they talk about the cars and they ask questions, and that creates this whole other aspect of the auction platform that now makes a community, and it kind of self-governs. People are dickheads on there a lot of times, and people slap dickheads down. They don't. Early days, there used to be that that car doesn't have the proper Q-shift lever, and whatever. And those people are kind of made fun of. It's like, chill out, dude. We know. It's cool if you mention something like that, but be productive.
I do appreciate that, especially with Bring a Trailer, because they've deliberately gone up market, but they do still, like a lot of the sites now, I think they set the standard of you can log on and it's like, are you a buyer or an enthusiast? No, I just like looking at the cars and talking about it. I'm like, oh yeah, come on in, Yeah, absolutely. And that community, those conversations consistently help the sellers, because a lot of times the sellers don't know answers to some of the questions that people ask. I mean, people get really granular sometimes, and they'll ask, oh, which engine is blah, 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 blah. And someone will just chime in, oh, that's this. And then, so that kind of saves the seller from having to do it. You get a third party kind of reaffirming certain information. And it also helps the community because you can't get away with BS. If you're trying to pull something, if you've got a piece of crap car and you're trying to cover something up, or if you're hoping that someone's not going to know, oh, there's, has the IMS been done on a 996? Well, that's a question that's going to be asked, right? Whereas on a classified ad, you might not put that on, or some car dealership might sell a 997.1 with 75,000 miles, no mention of the IMS. And if you don't know what an IMS is, you're not going to ask, and they ain't going to bring it up. And there's not going to be a group of, when you go to a car dealership, you don't have 200 people walking behind you helping you inspect the car, right? On BAT and all these auction sites, it's kind of like you have this whole community of people helping you shop for things, and that makes people more comfortable buying cars sight unseen, because at the end of the day, that's what's happening here. You're buying a car, you're bidding on a car. High bid is obligated to buy that car, but you've never seen it, you've never driven it. You don't know what you're getting until you show up. Have you guys bought any cars off of BAT or any of the other auction sites? I know you've sold them.
Almost. I almost bought an NSX on there. Ended up buying it somewhere else, but I was close. Like I was doing the bids at the last minute, and someone else just got ahead of me, and
Right. Well, that's good sometimes. Someone talks you off the ledge, if they get.
And I'm very happy with the car we did buy. It's great, and it's still great. So
nice.
It's okay.
Yeah. No, you can't go wrong in NSX.
Chris, we're going to get to this in a minute about the cars that Chris has bought, but let's keep going. So the bubble, we talked about the bubble, the crazy prices. I think there was like a Land Rover Discovery that was like just a piece of crap with 100 and something thousand miles, a Disco 2, and it went for.
Yeah, I loved it. I bought it from Chris. What?
No. This was on the auction site. I can't remember what auction site it was, but it was like 10 grand.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think I know the car that you're talking about. Did we review it on Bidnerds?
Yeah.
That one at least did have a new engine. It had an engine replacement or a complete rebuild. And anybody that knows Disco 2 knows that, you got the three Amigos that go bad. The head gaskets warp everything, and then it's all toast, right? But yeah, $10,000 for a Disco 2 is just absurd. We saw a 996. I want to say it was a 2000, maybe a 2001. In Calypso blue, which is just a really lame blue, on tan, and it's all beige. On the 996 era, they didn't have black dashes and then a colorful interior. It was just like a sea of beige. It's all beige. It's like a beige bathtub wrapped in this ugly blue. And I think it was even a Mark 1. So at the 3.4, no mention of an IMS upgrade, nothing, and it was like $51,000. You're like, okay, someone's just laundering money here. And I think that there are some of those things going on, but by and large, the market is just on fire, and there are a lot of opinions for that. Everybody knows that new cars, there is a run on new cars. They slowed production because of all the stuff that went on last year, deliberately slowed production. And then now that's hamstrung by low, their parts aren't available, things like the chip shortage and all that kind of stuff. Then you throw in some inflation in there. And then you throw in people having idle time and extra cash laying around for all kinds of reasons. And you have this kind of perfect storm. When we started the show, I kept waiting for prices to fall out during all the lockdowns and stuff. And it just did the opposite. It was like, wait, what's going on? So will the bubble burst? The big question, you start getting into some granular economic stuff here. Porsche as a brand specifically will keep production low for a while. They're hedge fund managers that run that company, so they know their predictions as to what the economy is going to do is probably the best in the business. They will keep making cars at a minimum level to keep prices up. Then if you throw in some inflation in there, even if there is some kind of correction, and even if there is some kind of push to make the market kind of retract a little bit, in the last couple downturns that we've had in 2008, early aughts, 2001 and all that kind of stuff, you always had the feds kind of pushing interest rates down in order to artificially keep prices up. And now we're in a situation, this could be the first time in any of our adult lifetimes. I think we're all teetering within 10, 15 years of one another in age. But this will probably be the first downturn in our lifetime that will include inflation. The last 2 or 3 downturns did not include inflation. So if you get a correction in the market, that correction, it's going to be weird because prices will still be high. There just won't be any credit. People won't be able to buy anything because selling something, if you've got a $100,000 car, and then 6 months from now, there's 10% inflation, then selling that car at $100,000 6 months from now is like a 10% discount. So what does that mean for, start getting out your slide rules and your calculators and figuring this stuff out. You'll pull your hair out really quick trying to figure out what's going to happen in the next little iteration of our economy. Sorry if that was a little too deep.
No, not at all. It was interesting, and it didn't answer my question. When will I be able to afford a 911? So,
well, that's the question is, but that's the problem, right? Is if you have an inflationary push on there, then even in a downturn, don't expect prices to go down. That's the problem. Is that even in a downturn, it's my belief anyway, and I'm probably wrong because I usually am about just about everything, that we are not going to be in a situation like it was 10 years ago where all of a sudden the prices will plummet. I think what will happen is prices will stay the same because that money will be worth less. And then on top of that, lenders will not be out there offering. It's going to be really hard to get loans because interest rates are going to go way up and there's going to be a credit crunch because nobody's going to want to. The lenders are going to be in a really tough spot because they're like, well, how can we lend even at a high interest rate if we don't know what the hell the dollar is going to be worth? Buy with crypto. How's that?
There you go.
Get somebody to sell you, to sell you when you sell your car, accept Bitcoin or something. I don't know.
I offer also, before we go way down this rabbit hole, part of the collector car thing is it's not just that, the 2020 idle time and money. People are discovering that they don't necessarily need a car, and that opens up well, then I don't need a good, reliable, perfectly reusable car. I've Lyft, I have public transportation, I work from home, so I can just get a fun car.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have, if commuting isn't part of the equation for your daily life, that's a good take. I mean, okay, yeah, because let's face it, a lot of these collector cars, even when you talk about a $50,000 996, which is crazy, that's still about the same as a new Honda fill in the blank Accord or something, right? Which would you rather have? If you don't have to sit in traffic? Yeah. Hell yeah. I'm definitely in the old Porsche. Good point.
The king of selling reasonable and reliable stuff for dream cars, Chris.
Well, I think we already kind of discussed most of this. I bought a lot of stuff that's already depreciated, hung on to it for a while, enjoyed it a lot, and then sold it at very similar prices to I paid for it. So one of which even went to mental, the CLS 63. And the Disco. Yep.
Oh, was that your car before? Yep. Okay.
It was.
Right. I
yeah.
didn't put that together. I didn't connect those dots. All right.
Yeah, we bought those.
Nice car.
We bought that 5 years ago from a Microsoft executive around here, and then did one lap of America and drove it all over the place, and then decided to downsize a little bit, and Mental picked that one up.
Yeah,
nice.
The other great car that he bought at the bottom appreciation curve years ago was a Land Rover Discovery that me and Vicky loved. Yeah.
Yep.
How long did that last?
It was a sea of beige, which is exactly what you just talked about.
Right.
It was beige
actually,
inside and outside.
Yeah, it actually.
What year was it?
99 Disco 2.
Yeah. First of the BMWs. Lasted almost 2 years. Put damn near 90,000 miles on it. Drove it Colorado, Oklahoma, Georgia, back, all that other kind of stuff. It just and it did what Land Rovers did. But
I had it for probably 6 years before that, and it had been,
black interior,
towing race cars. It was great. Love that car.
They're awesome. A black interior on a Disco 2 was like a $3,000 option. That's why you never, ever see them. And you had mentioned CD players and stuff like that. One of the few brand new cars that I've ever owned was a Disco 2. I bought a 03 brand new back in 03. I leased it. And in 2003, it had a cassette player. It didn't.
Oh, yeah.
If you wanted the disc changer, it was $950, and I was like, I'm not spending $950. I already had an MP3,
an adapter.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not the cassette tape. Screw that. So yeah, they are ridiculous.
Chris, how long and how much difference was there in the buying and selling price of your Z4M?
That was 5 years. We owned that, 40,000 miles, $2,000 difference.
Nice.
Like
did you buy that Z4M new?
No, bought it with 4 years old, maybe with 35,000 miles on it. Sold it.
Was it a Roadster or a coupe?
Coupe.
Interlagos
Blue coupe.
God, those were so great. Those were so damn cheap. They launched those at the exact wrong time. It was right during the downturn. I remember going onto showroom floors and looking at Z4M coupes, and they were like, that was the list price on those was like 75 grand, brand new, and they were trying to get rid of them for 40 grand. So there was like $30,000 of what they call in the industry trunk money, if you guys have heard that term. They could not give them away, and I kicked myself in the butt for not buying one because that car's worth way more than that now.
Yeah,
bought it and driven it for 15 years. Yeah.
Also, in between there, only losing $2,000 on it, the car had $14,000 in hail damage.
Oh.
So, we told people it was on Bring a Trailer. We showed them pictures of it, like massive damage on it, and they were like, "Okay, cool."
Wow.
Luckily, your insurance picked it all up, so
yeah,
we got a lot
of
all
BMW parts, and the whole car got painted, and it looked great. But
did we use the old clip for Lemon's theme? It was hysterical.
Yeah.
That is one of the cars that people ask, well, maybe I don't want a Porsche. What other sports car can I get for 40-50 grand? The Z4M is like on the high end of that list. That is one of the best sports cars of that era. And for the money, I don't know what the heck else you get that's better than that.
If you like the original M cars, that's the last one that used it, of the naturally aspirated, high RPM, inline engine, actual manual transmission, actual hydraulic steering, real limited slip, none of the electronic gizmos. It's like, it's just a car that's very good. Have fun.
And that S54, you didn't have to do anything to. They run and run. What the Vanos is about the only thing that you got to deal with.
And rod bearings at 100,000. And that's about it.
That's why we sold it.
Yeah.
This car hated traffic. This car wanted to go fast, always, only. So every time, because I drove in a lot of traffic for work when I drove to work, which was weird.
I think that might be you. I don't know if that's the car.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say
I drove it once, and I'm going to back her up.
Okay.
It had a really, really heavy clutch, and it
If you drove it like you were just being mean to it, it loved it. It was great. It worked perfectly on track. Like, it all made sense. But trying to creep along in traffic, it just wasn't real happy. We're like, where the NSX will do whatever you want. It was like, oh, you want to just go to the store? Cool, we'll do that. But
yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm seeing Chrissy in like a Pontiac Aztek going, yeah, I don't know. People brag on these, but it just wants to go fast all the time.
Well, she never had a
pretty
Pontiac Aztek, but she did put a larger engine in her Mazda 3. And we're having a great time, but I worry that this will turn into one of our infamous 3-hour episodes. And I want to touch on this before we actually get you for the ulterior motive that we drug you out here.
True.
Now, you guys started out doing the, hey, this is a cool car. Hey, this is a cool car. But both you and Deeb, you're creatives by nature and by employment. And you have been, I don't want to say hypercritical. I'll say honest. You've been honest about some of the, like, what the hell was Bring a Trailer thinking when they accepted this ad? I remember the 280ZX that was up.
Oh,
and
with all the pictures off of a phone.
They were badly taken. They were badly staged. And then the site shouldn't have even had that on there. But at the same time, you guys had the guy from P-Car Market on the show. And the question is, and I think I already know the answer is, are you going soft or do you just celebrate winners? And you and I hang out. So, I think you're a pretty a positive person, but yeah. So, how do you resolve that when you're, basically bagging on somebody's site and like, and he's a guest on our show?
Yeah, I know, right? How many times did we just dump all over P-Car Market and then, and then have Jim Barry on the show, or we haven't had Dave on, although he says he's coming on. Look, I'll give credit where credit is due. Yes, we are, well, there was a little bit of an online spat. P-Car Market, they have a YouTube channel as well. It's called P-Car Market, or P-Car Market Live, or Inside the Market, something like that. Look it up. It's great. It's Dave and Jim, the guys that own and run the company. And they are old school car dealership guys, and they're from Long Island. You guys are on the East Coast. You know people from Long Island, right? You know what that means. Hey, we like the Porsches. So, we made a little bit of kind of light ribbing of them at first. And then someone anonymously came on to our little piddly YouTube channel and was putting leaving these comments like, you guys are just biased against P-Car. You obviously work for Bring a Trailer. You guys, if we're really big in the community, and if you knew who we were, you wouldn't say this kind of like this stuff. There's like, what, and who the hell is making these comments? And you look at the profile and there's like, the person has been online for like a day,
minutes.
Right? It was somebody that just created a profile just to come on to our little. We have 8 followers, and you're one of them. You're doubling our audience by shitting on us, and that's fine, great. And so we encourage that, but it was like, come on, this is an intern at P-Car Market, or it's one of those guys, and it just felt like a boomer that didn't understand the internet. And I mean, look, P-Car Market, they don't have a young sensibility. Let's put it that way. Okay. So, and they were making a lot of consistent mistakes and things that I thought were kind of like, this seems a little shady. I did sell one of my own cars on P-Car Market. The experience I had with them, I didn't love it. There was some, I don't want to dump all over P-Car Market, because here's the thing. I think their ship is righting. David and Jim are good guys. We rib on them, but they're good guys. They are genuine enthusiasts. David, to his credit, just straight up reached out to me. He's like, hey man, what's up? Can I come on the show? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. We don't hate you guys. We think you're great, but we're not beholden to any of the sites. And when you come on our site and make a bunch of comments, it's pretty clearly someone in your office. That's weird, guys. it kind of started a little bit of a bias there.
You say every time you bring it up that you were friends with Bradley and the other guys from Rad for Sale, and you talk very, very. I wouldn't say badly, but you seem to be afraid that their business model is not going to survive. And
I am very worried for Radwood or Rad for Sale. They have some problems over there.
I want it to stay because there's stuff that shows up on Rad for Sale you're not going to find anywhere else. And I'm cutting us off, or I'm jumping ahead on the script. But there was some neat stuff that you and I talked about. But
no, Rad for Sale. Look, the thing. Okay, so you have the big players, right? Bring a Trailer, Rad for Sale. I mean, I don't even know if Rad for Sale can be put in the big players right now because they're just having so many problems. But Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, P-Car Market. P-Car Market was kind of grimy and gritty, and they were pushy, and they were kind of used car salesy at first. But they were scraping and scratching to get market share. They were kind of doing what needed to be done, and they learned a lot over that time. They made a lot of mistakes in that time. One of the things that turned me off, like a year and a half ago, I had a Cayenne GTS manual, right? That is an amazing car. I put it on Rentless. They reached out to me, and one thing that just drives me nuts is when someone reaches out to you acting like a buyer, and then, why don't you list this on P-Car Market? It's like, ooh, guys, that's kind of slimy. So I didn't like that. And then, I was like, well, okay, what do you guys think the reserve on this should be or whatever? And he's like, 2008 Cayenne with 70,000 miles, that should be like, 15 grand. That's about what they were going for at the time, but not a manual. Manuals already were going for 30 to 40,000 on BAT. I'm like, well, no, this one's a manual. And they're like, oh yeah. So maybe 16. I'm like, have you seen what's going on? And they seem to have no idea what was happening in the Porsche world. They're, it was P-Car Market. They clearly know what the hell they're doing now. But back then, my first impression, that was weird, right? So they've come around that way. But Rad for Sale, unlike Bring a Trailer's been around forever. We know them, right? P-Car Market, they've scraping and they're putting money out there. They're spending money to promote. They've got a team of actual salespeople that are calling people. Okay, so they have a mechanism, an old school mechanism to promote their platform. They're actually advertising in all kinds of different places. Cars and Bids, you've got Doug DeMuro. Doug DeMuro publishes a video every week that gets 1 million views or more, right? Yeah. So he has free commercials in his own platform. That platform drives me up the wall because they should be as big as Bring a Trailer right now. And there's only one word that I can use to describe Cars and Bids, and that's hubris, man. They are screwing up. They're patting themselves on the back. Look how great we're doing. We sold $24 million in cars or whatever that number is. But they're still only doing 10 cars a day, give or take a few. Whereas
Bring a Trailer cars are not spectacular on Cars and Bids. Right. They're just used cars. They're not enthusiast cars.
Yeah. Whereas BAT, they're doing 50 or 60 cars, and most of them are pretty spectacular. And P-Car Market is now selling Singers on the regular. They sold their third Singer today, right?
That's crazy, by the way. Right. They're singing Singers. I didn't know 3 Singers sold in a year. Everywhere.
They didn't.
They didn't. You're absolutely right. Your assessment is absolutely correct. So here it is. P-Car Market is like proving it. They're like, look, we are bringing big time cars. They've had Evos. They've had all kinds of crazy stuff, right? Cars and Bids. It's like, okay, here's my 80
Tercel.
Or Tercel, or they still are more. He still does say that they're 80s, 90s, and enthusiast cars. So it's got to be like an Audi A3 or something like that with an auto tragic transmission. Shot with a cell phone in someone's driveway and a dumpster in the background. I mean, Doug DeMuro. Let's face it. You have to respect Doug DeMuro and what he's built on YouTube. We're all wannabe YouTubers, right? And here's a guy that just, he's sneezes into his hand and goes, hey, here's a video of that. It's going to get 1 million views, right? He has no aesthetic. His videos, it's in the back of a Kmart parking lot. It might be raining. He's got his camera on a cheap tripod, and he does his shtick, and he's very knowledgeable, and he gets granular on the cars. He provides value in his films, and they are great for what they are.
But they're not visual.
they're not there's zero aesthetic, right? And when we're talking about enthusiast cars, these are not things that anyone needs. You do not need an enthusiast car, so you have to sell the romanticism of them. Otherwise, you may as well just get the Tesla box that will come and autonomously pick you up. So you have to, how many times have you seen on Cars and Bids, they'll have like, I don't know, an FJ, an old Toyota FJ, 60
Cruiser,
or whatever, right? Cruiser. Yeah. With the, and it's a convertible top. It's a 60s car or something like that, but the top will be up and it'll just like, well, that's not the fun way. That's not why you buy one of those. You buy one of those to have the top down, go over the Sahara or something and have this romantic dream. These cars, you have to sell that romanticism. And that means being aesthetic. And if the top down, if the very top of that brand is like, we don't care, we're wearing Uggs and a t-shirt from Chuck E. Cheese, it's just everyone's gonna, here's submitting my car, nobody cares, they'll just take anything I send them as long as it loosely fits the program. Nobody's gonna say, oh yeah, I want my Singer next to the Tercel that you were talking about, Jeff. And it's not gonna happen.
That's why I want to see Rad for Sale do well, because some of those ads are applying that aesthetic at a Mental and Jeff level of consumability. I was this close. They had a 84 Dodge Colt Turbo, and it had the gold inky wheels, which were period correct. The interior was great. I think it sold for just under $4,000, and that is such a rad little car, and you're not going to impress anyone with the acceleration. And then but the collector's cars, but down here collector's cars, that car would never sell on Bring a Trailer. They wouldn't take it, kind of a deal. So I hope Rad for Sale gets it.
I don't know if that's the case. BAT is pretty loose these days. Yeah, once they got bought by Hearst. Yeah, but
we need to move on.
Yeah, speaking of loose and aesthetic.
Yeah,
I'll do the share screen. You just start talking.
Okay, you're going to. Okay, so we brought you here for a specific reason, and we definitely timed it a little bit different because we are about to offer a car on Bring a Trailer, right, Chris?
Well, yeah, we're assuming they're going to take it, but I think they will. This is up their alley.
This is pretty spectacular. Go ahead and share that screen while I play the role of Deebs this evening. All right, go ahead, Mental. We're waiting.
Give me. Yep, I'm pushing buttons here and. There we go. All right, there it is. There's a good-looking fella.
Good. Up for auction is a totally roached 1973 Citroen SM. The seller lists this as the most successful French supercar with an Italian motor in American endurance road racing because it has survived 3 slightly successful Le Mans races and brought home 2 trophies, including the Index of Effluency.
The top prize in that series.
That's right. It has a 3-liter all-aluminum Maserati Merak motor. Am I saying that correctly? Merak? Anyway, Merak, yeah. Installed from the factory in 1973. It has triple Weber carburetors that alone are probably worth a couple grand to some fool who's, restoring his Maserati. It is customized with a full roll cage, lots of disgusting extra parts. It promises there's only a little bit of Hanta in the seats. It has an automatic transmission, a fully functional hydro-pneumatic suspension. It has a blue dong for a shifter. Yes, there is a sexual product shifter on there. It is offered out of Pennsylvania on Bring a Trailer and a no reserve auction. What are these fools going to get for their Italian motored French supercar that is absolutely disgusting?
That is pretty darn gross. You're submitting this to BAT?
Yeah.
Or has it been submitted? That's the plan.
I have to finish up the write-up. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So are you asking me what I think this thing's worth? Because
this is not a serious question.
No, I love it. I love these cars. Actually, I think there's been like a bunch of these have sold lately. Like there's been 3 or 4 of them this year.
But they were good.
Gorgeous. They're fully restored. And every time I show Chris and say, this is what that car could have been.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Note the functional trunk light. That's
Ooh, yeah. No, I'm digging it. The colorway is actually pretty cool. I don't think that any of them were automatics that have sold, though. I think most of them have been manuals. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's most of them are manuals in general.
Yeah,
there's not many.
I think those have all gone in like the 20 to 40 range, depending on condition and stuff like that. Maybe a little more for a really, really, really nice one. I don't know. Look, romanticism. Let's face it. You take the right pictures of this car.
I think this
it works.
We took the pictures right here. We're usually good. We're very good at good pictures and make you artistic and make this look great. But this car wasn't driving any further than that.
Oh, does it not run? I thought you said it ran. I thought
it runs, but it spews transmission fluids from somewhere. That's
go
new
up and
right
down.
Now.
That's so awesome. Oh my god! I love this thing. One
of our better roll cages,
it's running very clean right now. No, it's not at all.
That goes up and down very quickly. Like you can actually, like a lot of times, like with like Cayennes or Taycans or whatever that they have the pneumatic up and down thing. You can't even tell that it's going up and down. This thing looks like, it's in like a hip hop video or something.
That's
like
right.
You could make the front bounce down the highway. Yeah, I think you put there it is. That's how you get the money for this. Put some donks on there, some 22s. Chrome it out, and some fuzzy stuff around the windshield. And I think the shifter's gonna have to go.
Well, here's a good question. Let's ask a couple questions. You said Bring a Trailer will take just about everything. Do we have a shot of even getting accepted? And when they turn us down, where else should we try?
Well, just about is definitely
cars and bids.
This is where we fit in the just about category. Look, you know what? I think
reserve.
Bring a Trailer could take this car if it were shot correctly. If this car were presented well, they probably would accept it. Like if you got rid of that, I mean, I love the whole shifter thing and all the fun stuff, but like that car is really has beautiful lines, right? It has potential. So if you took that out on the right road and you got the right, the golden hour and you got some low depth of field shots and you shot that well, the car, somebody does want that. It's
It's a parts car, is what it is.
Yeah,
but it's also parked at a lake. So if we had just turned it
the other way,
the Tahoe in the background is not helping anything.
And that's not for sale. So I don't even want people to get that kind of idea.
I know. Here's another option: light it on fire and roll it down the hill and shoot video of it. And I don't know who wouldn't accept that. I want that car.
Speaking of beautiful things for behind it, though, that did only enhance the shot. Try and notice the Godzilla themed Honda.
Oh, that doesn't look like that anymore.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened.
If you could get this thing to drive down the road and film it, I think you could actually sell it. But yeah, if BAT didn't, I don't think Cars and Bids would take it. And unfortunately, P-Car Market, they're definitely not going to do it.
No.
And it doesn't qualify for Radwood unless. It's like, what movie had that car in it? I mean, that's a fairly, that's a cinematic car,
right? It was
right?
the longest yard.
Zoolander. Yeah, the original Burt Reynolds longest yard, and Zoolander. The
Zoolander. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, shucks, that might bookend you in the wrong way, because the longest yard, that's a 70s movie.
70-something, yeah. It was a new car.
Yeah, right? And then Zoolander's in the aughts. So you need to find a movie that had that car in it. I know there was a Citroen in like The Last Boy Scout, but I don't think it was. I think it was a 4-door one. Dig around, find a movie from the 80s, and if you could say, "Hey, here's a picture of one of these cars in the 80s," I think they would say, "Fine, let's do it." Just some loose connection to the 80s. Rad for Sale needs cars, so they'll find a way to sell it. They want to sell cars. Look, Rad for Sale doesn't have, unlike Doug DeMuro, they don't have millions of free commercials, so they need to do something. And one of the things that they launched during the close down, I think they initially, they used to do a car show every single month.
Yes.
That would get thousands.
Oh, we love it. We've been to a couple of them. It's fantastic.
Right. So now that their car shows are starting back up, if they can hang in there for the next couple months and get back out there in the scene and getting enthusiasts on the ground, that is their mechanism to promote their site to the core enthusiast audience. If they can do that, that's their way to promote it and get cars on the site and get traffic built up and start making something happen there. If they can't leverage the attendance of their actual physical shows, they're going to have to actually spend money to promote it. And if they don't have that money to do it, then I don't know how they get out of that nosedive.
Well,
so, anyways, that's my opinion.
Before we go on to the next,
those guys.
Before we go on to the next thing, I'll say, if you would like to buy the SM, first off, I'll point up here and say, if you're watching on YouTube, you can click that link right there, and you can watch that video and see all the information. You can contact us directly.
We've
we will.
By the way, we've been texted a couple times from somebody who wants it. They just haven't. They don't have a price yet.
Yeah.
You guys tell me, what do you guys think it's worth? What's your bid? Yeah, come on. I bet if you're gonna be deep here, that means you go first.
Oh, that means I have to set the market, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I like where this is going. Well,
I'm gonna say, in two bids, it will get $3,500, and that is because someone wants that motor and carburetor, and they don't care what it's wrapped in.
Chrissy, or you guys were saying that this car has no chance of driving normally. It's just totally toast. This is a parts car only.
Oh, no, it drives. It just spills transmission fluid.
And what would it take to make that transmission?
Finding the line that is broken and putting it back together. It's not the transmission that's broken. It's a line.
Yeah. I mean, look, this car has provenance. This car has this thing has won awards. It has trophies. That's a thing, man. Someone will pay for that. That's what I would be selling. Well, no, they don't get the trophy, but they get the provenance of the fact that the car, won those races, and it's got the cage in it and all that kind of stuff. Somebody would pay. I think I would bid this if this were on BAT with some decent pictures. I would say that this car could. I would probably bid somewhere in the $7,500 if it ran and drove.
Oh, then we're putting a trans line in this.
That's what I'm saying. And if any of you guys can hire somebody for $200 or $300 on BAT to take the photos. If one way to get in for sure on BAT, like if you just say, "Here's my car, I want to pay the $100 minimum," and the car is on the bubble, they'll say no. But if you say, "Yeah, I'll spring for the $300 for a photographer," they'll let it in because they'll know that, okay, it's going to be presented at least, halfway decent. Spring for the extra few $100 and get someone to, or find someone to take really good pictures of it and submit those pictures when you submit it, and you might have something there.
I bet DJ Eric would probably do a great job of that.
I did the BMW. It was very nice. It was good.
Yep.
Good
camera.
We
can.
Problem
it's just that
it's going to take another 2 months for me to get all this stuff done.
Yeah, that doesn't help. I sold a 19.
Oh, there it is on the racetrack. Proof that it runs.
Yeah, look at that. Come on, man. Who doesn't want that thing?
Ball gag, spiked collar, and everything.
Yeah, it's good looking. That's good looking. Sell them. I mean, there's a bunch of gimps out there that want that car.
Some of them are on our race team.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Yeah, I say fix it up, take some good pictures, and sell that thing. You'll make money.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Chrissy's got some things going on next.
I do, but we kind of talked about this already, but we can talk about it a little bit more. But I love obviously watching all of these sites. What's the worst thing happening on the platforms? Best thing, if you could fix anything on the industry?
Oh man, I think we've gone over kind of the best and worst stuff. I'd like to see. I mean, look, if you're a seller, spring for the photos. If you don't know how to take photos, pay for someone. One of the things we were talking about on the show today, talking about cars and bids. If they did a program where they said, all right, look, it's $100 to list your car or whatever the fee is. They'll charge you an extra $400 to send a photographer out there, $300. If they went out and said, look, here's what we're going to do. You list your car with us. You will charge you $100 minimum. If you opt for the good photos and the car sells, if it meets reserve, we'll deduct that photography price. If it doesn't sell for the reserve, we'll eat it. I think that would, because they need to up the game. A lot of the cars that are selling on there would sell for more if they were presented well. And I think they need to encourage that, and that needs to come from the brand. If the brand put it out there that, look, we're going after you, bring a trailer, they could take a bite out of them. They should really be eating their lunch, and they're not. The other thing that is interesting out there, there's rumbling that eBay might get into this game and change up their platform on the car side and make an enthusiast silo, which would be interesting. Would they screw it up because they're the big corporate juggernaut, or would they get it right? I don't know. They definitely have assets for it.
You've seen what Facebook Marketplace has done to Craigslist.
Right. And they could easily just make from a search point of view, they could just shut out all the other platforms. You want an auction site for cars? You have to do it on the eBay enthusiast site. So the only way to keep something like that from happening, I don't think BAT is going to be truly threatened. I mean, I think, if eBay came in at the big juggernaut, it was the battle of the juggernauts. I think they're both okay, but that would absolutely hurt P-Car Market, and that would absolutely hurt Cars and Biz, and it would absolutely obliterate Rad for Sale. One of these sites needs to step up. P-Car Market is really trying, but P-Car Market also kind of has a lane, and they're staying in it. They are expanding. They will sell Ferraris and other kind of interesting stuff, but for the most part, it's just Porsches and other really, really interesting cars. You're never going to see, an Audi A3 on that platform ever. It's got to be something pretty darn interesting to if it's not a Porsche, to be on there.
And that's why, with all the high end stuff, I really do hope Rad for Sale makes it, because it's enthusiast cars for people on an eBay budget. We're gonna move on to our next segment, because we could do this for hours. This is, right? and honestly, if you're listening to this and you haven't realized that we've been going at it for damn near an hour and 45 minutes, every morning at 9:00 West Coast time. It's right when I'm eating lunch. Noon for the rest of you guys. Go over to YouTube and watch the show Bidnerds. And then if you find any of those cars interesting that they're talking about on Bidnerds, which I do all the time, and I actually still learn stuff on there, go to the auction sites that they talk about, look at that car and go, hey, I saw this car on Bidnerds. It's awesome. Because those are enthusiast style communities, and they appreciate that kind of interaction.
And it sounds like if you tune in, you might see Chrissy.
You absolutely have to watch that one
tomorrow.
We're gonna absolutely tomorrow. We're gonna watch that one. But to that end, John, what are the social media on here? We've got your Bidnerds on YouTube. You got Bidnerds on Instagram, Bidnerds on Facebook, which is where I have to watch it because I'm stuck at work. I went ahead and threw up the 3-Pedal Posse on Instagram because I loved his interview with you on Pluto Television, the Porsche road trip. There's Fascination on YouTube. What else am I missing media-wise that people?
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of hitting all the bases there. Thanks for the plug for Bidnerds. And you're right, we do encourage. We want to grow the nerd herd. We want to grow the nerd nation, and the best way we've found is people going to the individual platforms and saying they heard of the car on Bidnerds. That really seems to drive a lot of traffic over to us. We're going to Radwood this Saturday, so we'll be at the first Radwood that's happening here in 2021. So we're going to be there rooting those guys on, and we'll be live. But you can listen to. There's an audio version on all the usual audio places. Don't ask me how you find it. It just Apple, all that
shows
stuff.
Up in your phone. You're just like, whoa, look, a new episode.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and we do publish that as well every day. But really, we're hoping that most people find us on YouTube. Bidnerds on YouTube, because that's where.
I'm going to put a plug in for the YouTube. They show the auctions, and that is really important because it is a visual medium, and they are talking about, look at this crap. I love it when you freak out. And I love it when you're like, what is this guy driving with one hand and the other hand's on the shifter? And I get pumped up and I'm yelling back. I'm like,
that is the answer to Chrissy's question. What is the worst thing in this industry is God dang it. Turn your phone sideways when you're doing a driving video. Get someone else to hold the camera. Don't try to shift and drive. Don't go vertically. Don't just show the gear shift lever. Don't drive in traffic. The worst thing in the world is when you got somebody who's like, okay, we're sitting at a light. There's the Subway sandwich. Okay, I get it for 32 seconds. Then the light turns green. They go through the intersection. End of video. It's like, what the heck? What are you? I didn't want to see it
They're
idle.
they're not romanticizing it.
Yeah,
Romanticism. Yeah.
Romanticism. I love it.
When someone goes out and they find a twisty road at the right time of day, and they turn off your stereo too when you're doing this, guys. If you're making a video of how the car drives, turn everything off. We want to hear the engine. We don't expect, we're not looking for a super high quality film. You don't have to be a filmmaker, but turn your phone sideways. Have someone in the passenger seat, have that thing as far back as possible. So you see the dash and you see, everything around you, and go drive on an abandoned road and do it for 5 minutes and show people why you bought the car in the first place. Remind them why that car is the place that you want to spend time in. Alfa Romeos are pieces of junk. But if you can get one to work for 5 minutes on a twisty road, that is probably the best way you can spend 5 minutes. And that's what you see a lot of times. These guys will go out and get a beautiful Italian car and they'll drive around. You're like, yeah, that's where I want to be. I don't want to be driving by the fast food place. That's stupid. Yeah. It's not helping.
I will also say I yelled back when you misidentified
we hear you.
The bent Miata license plate. I was like, no, that guy's doing it on purpose because he's an asshole.
You knew?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You knew?
I'm a Miata guy, so
he teaches at a college in New Jersey.
It's true.
When I was teaching high school, I would learn words from him that my high school kids hadn't heard yet. And, they thought I was cool.
I'm big on TikTok. No, I'm kidding.
And the thing is that car, I mean, that's a really good example. I'm glad you brought that up because that's one of those things that the platform, Warren at DWA, and Rad for Sale. Yeah. Yeah. When that car came in, they didn't know that was a thing. And they went back to the seller and said, hey man, you got to straighten out your license plate. And the seller's like, no, that's a thing. It's like, all right,
whatever, boomer.
Yeah. It's a thing, right? Okay, but that thing is going to mean that no one's going to buy your car. So let that thing go for a second and straighten out your goddamn license plate. If you're advertising that car on a platform that is specifically to vape sell, like if they had cherryvapeauctioncars.com, fine. Right, that's not what Rad for Sale was.
Hang on, I have to go patent a website real quick.
Yeah.
Somebody buy that URL.
Register that one.
No one in the '80s had crooked license plates back then. That wasn't a thing.
No.
Make it period correct.
The problem is you shouldn't have a front license plate on your Miata, no matter what, because that ruins the nose of the Miata.
Even better advice. I can't. Yeah, I mean, take the ticket.
Even my wife, who just walked through, she does not have a plate on her C6 Corvette, and she's like, "It's not getting one."
She's doing God's work. Yeah. She's doing God's work. Good for her.
Anyway, I think we've plugged everything. We're definitely going to watch the show. Chrissy is going to join you. You live in the same town as Mental, so I assume you're going to run into him and, I don't know, help him.
I just can't avoid it. It's such a small town that it's like there's kind of no way around it. So I'm like, all right.
He actually was gracious enough. As he mentioned, he lives in a high rise, and that's how we spent our 4th of July. It was a beautiful view over the whole city. So thank you again. That was fantastic.
It's great having you. We enjoyed it. And I except for the damn cake that your wife made and left in my refrigerator, and clearly I keep eating it.
Vicky can cook. Is Vicky in the room? Mental?
No, actually,
no, okay.
She's
okay. It was like a Jello cake with like Cool Whip on it. And it was like, come on, man! Oh my god, I have to eat the whole thing.
Have her cook Mexican. Mental,
really?
Tell her I want chili quiles. I'm dying for some chili quiles. Okay, anyway, we are going to move on to the next segment, and you probably can play along because I have no idea what's coming up. Chris, do you have something for this?
I have a Hella Sweeter But Terrible.
Hella Sweeter But Terrible. Oh, can I say
so
the
it's
instructions?
John, so you're definitely in on this one, JP.
Yeah.
Jump in.
So Hella Sweeter But Terrible is when somebody gives a bold statement, and then we all tell them what an idiot they are. And I have a feeling I'm going to get hit on this one. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, this is
all right.
Okay, I get it.
Let's say that we're just purchasing a new vehicle.
Yes.
This vehicle is a high performance car, the highest performance car this manufacturer has ever made. It is universally loved by the automotive press. Isn't that great? But this is also very expensive, like, and kind of a treat for its owner.
It
for the
is
first
the
actually
largest
time getting this.
vehicle purchase the owner has ever made.
Right.
And it is used.
Only
Pre-owned.
1,000 miles
Pre-owned.
on it, though.
Yes,
Still.
1,400.
Still. Now, if this owner also happened to be going to a track weekend at Pit Race in 2 weeks,
This
is it
owner
hella
also
sweeter but terrible?
this owner also said, I can't go because I don't have a car to drive, and you have like 8 cars out front.
That's true.
So, hella sweeter but terrible. Use the Veloster at Pit Race.
Should I answer last?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll go next to
Around
last
the
because I asked the
horn.
question.
Hella sweet or but terrible taking your 1 week old Hyundai Veloster N to a track day. Mental, go.
Hella sweet. Get the track day insurance. It will calm you down in traffic. Got to get that fixed, man.
Chrissy?
I'm struggling with this one because you know how I am with dailies on the racetrack. We had to take emergency trip with the NSX to a race to an HPD, and I freaked out. And I was like, "You better go slower." I was like, "You can't. This should not be on the racetrack." So I understand the pain and concern, but I also agree with Mental that you just get the track insurance, and that is cheap, doable, and I don't know.
Says the podcast cast member whose daily driver is now the most
A full
reliable
occasion
race car
race car.
that they own.
I know, but when it gets another dent on it, I'm going to be very sad. Yeah, just do it. Let's go. Do it. Hell sweet.
All right,
Go.
JP, how do you feel about risking your cars on a track day?
I mean, we're not talking about a DE day. We're talking about an actual race day.
No, DE.
Oh, it's
HPDE.
HPDE. Yeah.
Oh, then what do we? Yeah, hell yeah. What? This is a problem?
Chris,
Isn't
would
that
you
what
like to say something before?
I mean, because I can't say I'm sorry, I'm just not a huge fan of Velociter, but I mean that one in particular is pretty set up. Yeah, it's a nice car. Yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, I take Porsches out there all on DE days. That's why you do it. I mean, that's all. It's like you can get out on a track and go crazy and not have to get a ticket. Hell yeah, do that. Why else would you buy the car?
I'm also going to say hella sweet because
Yeah.
I have taken my nice cars at the time on DE days once each. I took the BMW out once. I took the NSX out once. And I really enjoyed the way you get to know the car differently on the track than you do on the street. And it highlights things that might be kind of crappy on the street, but then you say, oh, I get it now. Like the BMW just love to go through every corner with about 10 degrees of slip angle on the back. And because you're sitting on the back axle, it felt like holy shit, but you could just do it over and over and over and over. It was great. And also that sport mode on track was terrible because you couldn't modulate the throttle. On the NSX, you learn that the steering that seems slow in the real world is actually perfect on track because like you can clip every apex exactly where you want it to. Things like that you are never going to learn in the street. So yeah, buy the track insurance, send it, and just drive like 10% less. Like you know your limits. You know how to.
Sure.
You can drive hard. You're an experienced driver. You can drive hard enough to have a
You
great
can be
time
in all remaining
without
cars with me.
pushing in the limit.
Yes.
We'll take
And
it
so
the
you
Mazda at
blow
the very
by.
end of the lap. End of the
So here's my answer. Already have wifely approval, already priced the track insurance, already the plan.
There
I
we
am
go.
taking
Good.
the Hyundai Veloster and 275 horsepower, which laps the lightning lap according to Car and Driver faster than an early Boxster, by the way. On Virgin VIR.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to have a polar moment in a car, wouldn't you rather do it on a track than on an on ramp?
Absolutely.
So I mean, look, I think that's exactly what a DE day is for. You're supposed to take your performance cars, go out there, push them to the limits, and find out what they do at 11 tenths, and know how to, possibly save your life, for crying out loud.
Absolutely.
Because you don't want a learning curve in I absolutely love the idea of taking.
Well, and Jeff likes to play the humble bit, but Jeff is a serious hot shoe.
Nice. Yeah, and I've
get
never
excited.
driven the good version of the Veloster. I've only driven the rental car versions. And oh my god, I wanted to shoot myself in the face. But I have heard good things about the hot one. So I'm sure if I got a chance to drive one, I'd probably like. Yeah, this is fun.
Well, tune in a couple weeks because we are going to be covering the Pittsburgh DE show. I think in 3 weeks because it comes in 2 weeks, right? I mean, is that where we're at? I don't even know what the number is.
You make a driving video, just turn your
End of
damn
July.
phone sideways.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. Don't worry. All right. Do we know what we're covering next week? I don't know. I'm not here. I'm going to be at Boy Scout camp, so you're actually covering it without me.
Great.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. We'll figure it out. Well, JP, thank you for joining us. I'm very excited. Seriously, thanks, JP. This is awesome.
Had a great time, guys. That was lots of fun. Thanks for having
can't
me.
wait to watch. I've got a meeting, and I'm gonna have to watch the rerun of Bidnerds, but I can't wait.
I will be maybe in the car driving to Pennsylvania to buy this NC Miata for my brother at the time, but I will absolutely tune in on my phone so I can make snide comments. Thank you all for downloading us. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because even if it's fresh off the lot, you should be on a racetrack. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe, hit the like and share button, do whatever you got to do. It's totally free. Go to iTunes, give us a good rating. Even if you hated us, give us a good rating, 5 stars, and tell us why. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can still text us. Mental's holding up his phone. He really wants you to text him. 484-243-0455. Send us pictures. Send us story ideas. Just ask us a question. You can also find us
Are
on...
you putting your phone number on the interwebs?
It is a Google number.
Google.
So...
It's all of our phone number,
yeah.
actually.
Wow.
That's why it's a
Holy
Pennsylvania
wheelies.
number, yeah.
Mental likes junk pics. Send it
exactly.
Nice.
Yes. If you have rust in your hellhole in your 914, send it to Mental.
Actually, I have not been offended by any junk pics that we've actually gotten, and we've gotten a few.
Good.
Find us on Instagram or Twitter at everyone.racers. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up. Oh yeah, Bidnerds, get a Bidnerds tennis ball for your car.
That's a sticker.
Yes, we have a sticker too.
Also,
who's got a sticker?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Dare Fascination.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, good looking hat. I appreciate that you resisted the urge to bend the Frato brim. There, Mental, nice work. You're looking good. You're wearing it right.
He'll make
Don't
me
bend that
cool
sucker.
yet.
Well, that's awesome. Once again, if you can't keep the shiny side up, at least keep those wheels down.